All right, guys, the Utah Jazz lose after the All-Star break to the San Antonio Spurs. This is the Hoops Nerd postgame show. Welcome back from All-Star break, Jazz fans. If you had a chance to go to this game like I did tonight, you were not very impressed with the effort from the Jazz, especially in that first half. The Jazz kind of played like a different team in the second half. The shots weren't falling at all. I got to look something up here real quick. My internet's going slow lately. I don't know why. I'm trying to just look up the stats, but really there's two stats that are important for this game. The Spurs had 6 turnovers. The Jazz had 17. The Spurs are just well coached. They have players that have been playing together for years. They are smart players too. And so you come against a Jazz team who have a lot of young players, a team that has not played together all season for the most part. I mean, the Jazz kind of looked like they kind of figured it out right before All-Star break when they had won 4 games in a row. They got a few lucky shots, but they played better than they did tonight. And they just didn't look like they were ready. Like the All-Star break wasn't good for them because they came into this game, they were lackadaisical. The big thing I noticed just watching the game was just how easy it was for the Spurs to take their shots. I know they're mid-range shots, and that's a bad shot. But when they're just taking those shots with ease, they're NBA players. They're going to knock that down. And it was just too easy for them. Like, the Jazz were just not in their jerseys. They were not making them uncomfortable until like the second half and the end of the game when they finally played with some urgency, but it was too late. And the Jazz just can't do that. This team, for whatever reason this season, doesn't play with urgency start to finish most nights, and it's disappointing. And I don't know why it's like that. It's frustrating. Some of that you've got to give it to the Spurs, who played really well. I mean, really, we talked about the turnovers. The other thing is the Spurs shot 56% from 3. They don't take as many threes as other people because they have a lot of mid-range stuff. But they made those 2 tonight, and they just didn't turn the ball over. Utah just played sloppy, whereas the Spurs were just locked in, and they made good shots. DeMar DeRozan, I can't see the stats. I'm sorry, guys. But he played really nicely. And Patty Mills kills us, it seems like, every game. DeJounte Murray played well. It was just a nice night for the Spurs, who overall just played better than the Jazz. Kept the ball, and Bryn Forbes is just a great shooter. They're just a smart, well-coached team, and if you come into a game against the Spurs like the Jazz did tonight and play just lackadaisical, and you're not up in guys' jerseys, you're not contesting shots hard, you're giving them what they want, you're going to lose, and that's what happened. The other thing is the Jazz shot 34% or whatever it was from 3. So they shot 56, Utah shoots 34, and sometimes that's the game. I was talking to some people as I was leaving the arena. I mean, the Jazz are kind of a glass cannon like they talk about in League of Legends with the DPS, who there are a lot of games where the Jazz just blow people up. And they're just really powerful, hard to handle. And then there's nights like tonight where they just crack, like where you play against a good team with smart players and a good coach who play hard defense. Sometimes the Jazz struggle against that, and it's frustrating. I still think the Jazz are good enough to go in and win 4 out of 7 against any other team, but there's no way this Jazz team is sweeping anybody in the playoffs. If they play really well, they honestly are good enough to beat anybody. But can they string together enough good performances? They can't do it what they're doing tonight. And the problem for Utah is that, yes, they're probably trying to coast a little bit, and they'll play harder in the playoffs. Obviously, they'll play harder. They'll play harder defense than they did tonight when they're in the playoffs. But if you keep losing games like this, you're not going to get a good seed, and it's going to be a tougher route. And so you'll be well rested in the playoffs, but you might not have home court, and you might not be playing an opponent you want to play. So losing these games hurts. These suck. It's not good. It's really bad. And I don't know, you're not going to win every game, and that's just the reality of the NBA. And tonight was probably just an example of the Spurs just beating their ass, and that's what happened. But you've got to come into these games with more urgency every night. If you want to be a winning team, you've got to have more urgency, and you've got to have more oomph. Another thing is, can Quinn Snyder please call a timeout during a 17-0 run? What the hell? Can you please call a timeout and stop the bleeding? It's ridiculous. 17-0 run. How many runs are the Jazz going to give up like that this year? It's nuts. It was just awful, and Quinn just watches it. Call a timeout, please. There's a million people begging you to just call a timeout. I mean, we landed the first half with like 6 timeouts in Quinn's pocket. What are you waiting for? Call the timeout. And the big thing that's frustrating about that is like the Jazz come out in the second half. They have a quick little 5-0 run. Pop calls a timeout, and he's pissed. And he's pissed at his team for not putting out the effort. And guess what? It changed. Quinn, on the other hand, watches him go 17-0. Damn it. Crap. I wish that didn't happen. You know what, Quinn? Maybe call a timeout and reinforce what you're trying to do. It makes me wonder if you had a game plan tonight. What was the game plan? If it obviously wasn't working, and even if it means to try to slow the momentum of the other team, call it. Call it. Jeez. Finally, I just want to say shout out to Patrick for bringing me to the game tonight, Patrick. That was really great of you. I really appreciate it. Good buddy. Nice to meet you. Let's do it again sometime. Guys, be my buddy as well and like and subscribe to this channel. It's a frustrating loss. I was excited to watch the Jazz basketball after a long week, and then they just lose. So that made me sad. But anyways, like and subscribe this video. That'll make me happy. I will talk to you later.